a lot of the clients that I have are treading to not hit rock bottom. They are
Ah,
successful women with very successful businesses, families, exactly like my life, right? It
hmm.
was everything, all the pieces were there, but they are treading water and they feel like they're drowning.
Hey, this is Robert Christensen with Motive for Life. Thank you for joining me for this amazing interview with Kim Porter. She is a world-renowned makeup artist, had been featured in top wedding magazines, including the Knot and Style Me Pretty. She's done so many high-profile weddings for brides, doing the makeup for politicians and celebrities. Between the years of 2012 and 2014, she opened up her first makeup studio in Virginia Beach, and it just took off. This interview, though, is not about her entrepreneurial life, but her pivot and absolute bottoming out and then coming back out to find what truly makes her happy in life and her passions, and why today she is a fantastic business and life coach for women. Enjoy and take care. Hey, Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh yeah, so am I. I've been super excited to talk with you again because we had that prep time. It just like went by like that, didn't it?
It did. It went by so fast. It was fun.
So how you doing?
I'm good. I'm here finally.
So you have a full-on big life, don't you?
I do. We have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, and my mom lives with us. So it is crazy around my house.
Oh boy. I remember when we have two kids, and I remember that was more like in a football analogy, man to man, right? You're just kind of going, my wife would take one and I would take one. But when you add a third, you go to zone defense, right?
You do. And my husband coaches two of their teams. And I mean, it is insanity. I mean, it just, you're going in all different directions, but we have a really good support system. So we're very lucky.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you're here because you and I are very aligned on our coaching practices and what we want to do with people and where we're going and stuff. Just tell us, what is it that you do?
I really, to the core of what I do, I work with mainly women, and I help them go from burnout, overwhelmed, anxiety to loving their life and feeling happier and more fulfilled in their life and business.
Well, we just talked about that, right? You are actually living that today. I guess you could swing to burnout if you could, plus having your own business, plus your mom
100%,
doing all the kids.
Yeah.
So tell me what burnout looks like for women in this space. Because I'm not a woman, I don't know.
So burnout for me was, and I've been through it, so I know exactly what it feels like. I know, kind of what it feels like to be on the end of where you're just feeling all this anxiety all the time and you can't sleep, all the way to burnout to depression. So I've been through the whole gamut. For me, burnout was when my business, I had a makeup artistry business, and when it became so successful, I kept moving the goalpost a little bit further and a little bit further. And I kept thinking, I'm going to feel successful when, and I just burnt myself out trying to reach, these goals that no one had set on me, but myself. But I realize now it was all self-worth. It was all me trying to prove that I was worthy enough by having this really successful business. And I, almost lost my marriage. I wasn't home. I was missing from dinner all the time. I was always, really distracted. So, it was an awful feeling to be in that.
So when you're in that and you have all of these things coming at you, all of the priorities that I guess at one point you raised your hand and said, yes, I want that priority. I want to be a mom. I want to be a family person. I want to be a business owner. I want to be an example to women. I want to be, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did any of those priorities shift as a result of this context that you have, or did you keep the priorities but somehow absorb them differently or organize them differently?
From then till now?
Yes.
I shifted my entire life.
Okay, so you basically turned it upside down.
Totally flipped everything upside down. I hit rock bottom. I hit depression. I went into this just really dark place of this does not feel like my life. I don't feel like myself. I'm not, I was just, rock bottom is the only way to really, and everyone has a different level of rock bottom. My rock bottom was, I'm about to lose my business. I've gotten this huge space with a team and all of this stuff. And I cannot do this. And we also had a 6-month, we had a baby at the time, so I was, I think the rock bottom for me, I was driving to the grocery store by myself and I thought, I wish my car would hit a tree just so I could end this, because I'm so tired of trying to pretend like I'm happy. And I just was awful.
I, at one point, sorry that you had to go through that. But on the other side, the rising of the phoenix out of the ashes is a whole story. And that's what we're here to talk about. Right. And so tell me, inside you, what was that like when you were thinking that you just would hit a tree? I mean, what was that? Because that seems very real, very, very real.
It was very real. And I had never felt that low in my life before. I've lost my dad suddenly when I was 18. I've been through hard things, but I'd never felt so, I was always a fighter. I'll get through this. I can push, I can make it work. And to feel that low and to know that you have a beautiful family at home and people who love you, and no one really knew that I was suffering. They knew I was different. They didn't know how much I was suffering. So you were
alone in this thinking at the time. You were alone in it.
Totally. I mean, it's on social media, you would have thought my life was perfect. I really put it out there that things were really going well for me.
A big, this is what's a
facade.
Don't look behind the curtain, right? Don't pull the curtain
back.
That's
exactly what it was, right? So when I shifted everything and turned it upside down, my biggest thing was I'm going to pull the curtain back and be honest and say, I went through this, which maybe now might be a little bit of a midlife crisis. I was 38. We were, having a baby. It could have been a lot of things, but you asked me a question. I just went off on it, but I was alone and no one really knew. They knew I was suffering, but they didn't know what it was. So, yeah.
That's challenging, super, super challenging. I know what it's like to be in a position where you haven't shared the fears and the having you prop up the life that you want. And your ego won't allow you to tell people it's failing behind it, right?
Right?
It's coming apart.
It's completely coming apart. And it is so scary to say. It took me a year to actually share the story of me wanting to hit a tree, my car just to hit a tree, because I was in so much shame over it. And when I did, and that's where this, business really came from. I had so many women reaching out to me and saying, thank you for sharing. I feel the same way. I feel that lost in my life. So that birthed all of this.
So all these women are basically saying to you, I have been doing the same and I'm still in it.
Yeah. They were in the middle. They were suffering in the middle of suffering. So I had a year where I, healed myself and picked myself up and I shared it. And when I shared it, people were sharing with me.
And so when they come to you with wherever they are in that story, you're going to meet them where they are, right? They're in some cycle. They may be a year from where you were, or they may be a day from where you were, or they may have actually been where you are and coming out of it, or at some point. What do you do with your clients when you engage them at that point? How do you start bringing them in under your wing, and start saying, hey, how do we get through this?
I think, like you said, you meet clients at different levels. And I just had a client reach out to me who hired me, and we worked sessions, and she was about to hit rock bottom. There wasn't, the train was rolling. She was going to lose everything. There was nothing. A lawyer, and she had tried everything. So at that point, there is nothing that anyone can do. Your life is hitting that rock bottom and you're going to just have to hit it. And that is really just holding someone's hand and saying, I'm here for you, whatever you need, and feeling that empathy and that connection. A lot of the clients that I have are treading to not hit rock bottom. They are successful women with very successful businesses, families, exactly like my life, right? It was everything, all the pieces were there, but they are treading water and they feel like they're drowning. And I'm the one who's like, I've got you, here's your life raft.
So what do you do on the life raft with them? So how do you get them to not just tread water, but to start turning it around? Because you're not a tread water person. That's just, I know that for an instant here. So what are you doing with your clients when you get them turn around?
You definitely meet them where they're at. So like you
Right.
said, they're going to be different journey. And so that looks different. But my process is really, what do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel? Where are you at now? And the goals, are they aligned with the life that you want? Because most of us are going for goals that have nothing to do with what we really want our life to look and feel like. So I take them on this whole journey of, let's start with the end in mind. What is the legacy you want to leave? What is the vision that you have for your life? And then I really work with like energy work in terms of how do you want your life to feel, and how do you want your day to look? How do you want, when you wake up in the morning, instead of going straight to your phone, like what else can you do? And I work on this thing called a happy list, where I have my clients write down 25 things that make them feel happy, like a cup of coffee, whatever you want in your life, that makes you happy, small things, big things. And I try to get them to do as many as possible every single day. And I've heard over and over again, that is life changing. I never thought about that before. And I'm like, well, you should be doing things that make you happy, right? It's like, what is the point of all this if we're not like living our happy life? So I kind of just, take them where they're at, and I listen to them and I hear them. But at the core of every single thing is they are trying to prove their value and self-worth by reaching a level of success that they're going to end up, making themselves sick to get there.
There was a really interesting phrase one of the teachers I had, or I want to say it's a teacher or it was a TED Talk. I don't know which one it was.
Right. They're all the same.
Exactly. But they basically said, oh, no. It was Brene Brown. Okay.
Love her.
Yeah. I love her. Love her. She was talking to Oprah and she was saying, I had to get to the point where I recognized that the action I was doing was what I felt was going to earn my right to be worthy of what it is. So if I was to make $1 million a year, I therefore am worthy to receive it because I made it.
Right.
Okay. Instead of knowing that you're worth $1 million a year, whether or not you actually get it. Okay. Yeah. So the worthiness. So she had this real context shift around worthiness. Instead of an attainment-based proof, she would say, let me prove to you that I'm worth this because I did these things, right? I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. And so let's go back to your business, okay? Because you're pretty renowned makeup artist for stars and various folks and stuff like that. And you've kind of let that all go, didn't you not?
I very much let that go. I am wrapping up some weddings that I've had from 2020 when everything got shut down.
Right.
And I have walked away from a very successful career because it no longer aligned with the vision I had with my life.
That is really stunning. That is to say that, to walk away from, by the way, you're not the only guest on the show, but a lot of women who were in careers trying to prove themselves the same way seems to be a recurring theme. Mm-hmm. That I'm going to go do this to prove whatever I need to prove.
Yeah.
And, I find women much more flexible in this area. Men are just rigidly stubborn. Okay. When it comes to, I'm going to conquer this thing and I'm going to put a spear in it and I'm going to call it mine. And it's going to have my tattoo on the side of it and blah, 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 blah. Right. And, we're just ridiculously uneducated as to what it takes to make us happy. We're much more target driven, right? The achievement of the goal for a man is much more important than the actual goal itself.
Sure.
Right. But you've been great in educating me on how women see that stuff and for the reasons they go after them. I just find it very interesting in what your take is on that.
Well, I feel like I never had anyone in my life, and this is, it's different. Everyone's raised differently, but I think every single person has gone through trauma in their life, no matter how great their family life was.
Yes.
I never had anyone say to me, you're smart, you're doing a great job. Like you're really great, and so I never, it wasn't really, and my family, my parents didn't have a lot of expectation. It was like, get married, have kids, and well, that's it. So when I started building this makeup artistry business and I started seeing the success and I started seeing my name in magazines and getting the celebrities and the high profile politicians, it is totally ego driven, right? It is like, give me, I want my name. It is intoxicating. It was like this, wonderful ride. but eventually you just realize you keep doing it. And it's never feels fulfilling. I just kept moving the goalposts. I pushed myself more. And so you just get to a point, and I didn't break until I pushed myself to the point where I couldn't do it. And I'd had a 4-station beauty bar, a makeup team, a baby at home. And this is not what I want my life to look like. I'm working all the time. I missed years of games with my kids, soccer games, years of it. So I did what's right for me, as some people would have handled that differently. For me to be where I am, it was a journey of realizing this is not what I want my life to look like. And I have the power to change it. And I'm completely creating from a different space at this point.
So let's go back to the time when you're building your business, when it was fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I loved it. Right?
So when was that? When was the building my business fun?
The first studio and the second studio. The second studio, when my name was on the wall there, on the street. I drove by that street for 4 or 5 years and said, I want my business to be there. That's where I want to have my business. And I got it. And the name was up there and it was great. It was when I stopped having, or no, I guess I never did, but boundaries. It was when I know I did not have boundaries. I said yes to things that didn't align with me because I didn't do my goals from the end game. I was doing my goals from where I was. So I took on everything. I have to do all of this. And if I don't do it, people won't like me. They'll drop me. So that is where, when I just kept putting more on my plate.
I see. Yeah. So you have this fun business.
So much.
You have this fun business. You're managing your life at that point, and people want more of you.
Oh, they'll never stop wanting more.
They always want. Oh, boy, tell me that one. Boy, that one is for sure.
Yes.
Let me give you a for example. We just ran a mastermind, a 3.5 month mastermind, right? And it was free.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really a long time. And I was the leader. I was the ringleader of it. I ran 2 of them, one on a Wednesday night, one on a Thursday night. And, when you draw boundaries and you create scarcity, that's when they want you even more, right? And
yes.
Keep it like that. And so that, I knew that going in, and I knew there would have to be an end to it. I just couldn't run it. And the whole point was to get curriculum out of how to teach self-worth. Oh, and so yes. That was the exchange. And I kept on telling them, I go, this is going to end. But when it did end, they were all like so disappointed, right? And I just said, okay, it's okay. We'll come back and do something like that. But next time it's going to cost money. All right. And so, but my point is this, is that
as it should. Yeah.
They will always pull on it. They will always ask for more, especially when somebody's successful like you.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to want your energy.
And the emails, can you tell me how to do this? Can you do this? Can you help me? Can you, it was, and I did not have the knowledge to put up boundaries, and the self-worth was a big one. If I say no, they will leave me, they will drop me, they will find somebody else. And it's true. They did. I mean, that is the truth. If you say no, they're going to go find someone else. But the fact that I wrapped my self-worth up in the fact that I have to say yes, because otherwise they'll leave me. I mean, like, where does that come from? But that was definitely from something.
Well, if we dig deeper into both of our own backgrounds, the desire for personal validation from the authority figures in our lives was almost always what drove me, right? You same way. I never had that kind of impact that you had said about somebody telling me I'm smart, they're proud of me, those type of things. And so I was constantly moving my goalposts. My goals would never stay permanent. They were always going for, and to this very day, right? I still need to say and stop. Nice job, Robert. You did that.
Pat yourself on the back.
Pat yourself on the back. And be okay, with that, right? And stop and relax for a little bit, take it in, but then ask yourself, what is it that you want next? And that's going to lead me into this next set of questions that you had. You said that you work from the end goal with your clients and work back. How do you this is one of my own personal challenges with clients. How do you get them to articulate what they want?
So I honestly, I start with the legacy. When
Okay.
when you die, what are people going to say about you? Which
Hmm.
is a little bit morbid, and not everyone loves to play this game with me, but that is the legacy that you're leaving. When we've all been to funerals before, and people leave different imprints on other, on people around them. And what is the legacy you want to leave? And that is the end goal. They're always, I want my family, I want love, I want friendship, I want people to say that I was caring and kind. Well, when you're overwhelmed with anxiety, burnout, and no good to anyone, how does that equate to a legacy where you're there for your family when they need you,
Right.
when you feel loving and connected? I mean, we're so on our phones all the time, we don't even know what connection is anymore. So we have to really think about the legacy that we're leaving. What does that mean right now? Because this is your life. We have to live the life that we're living right now.
So, what's the most common theme around the legacy that you hear?
I mean, it really is just, I want my family to know I love them. I want my friendships. I want to leave, a book or a painting, or, I want some creative part of me to be left. That is
Hmm.
always what it comes down to. That's what we all want, right? We all
Right.
want the people around us to know that we love them. We want to maybe leave a creative legacy or a thought leadership legacy. And I think that's what every single human being wants that.
So, why do you think the attainment for outside goals falls into place and supplants that thinking when just a few questions gets them to that realization?
Because no one ever says that to us. No one
Mm.
says that when we're a child. It's, do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a nurse? How much, how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to do this? No one ever says, what do you want to leave on this earth? What do you want your legacy to be? And it's very ego driven, for this, like, I need to have, I need to do, I need to. And by
Right.
ego, I'm sure a lot of the people listening will understand because they're in the same realm that we are. But
Sure.
it's not, ego as in like, I have great muscles. It's this need for validation and self-worth outside of ourselves and never being enough, because when we were younger, we didn't feel like we were enough, so it's that
Yeah.
part of us.
You remind me of an exercise we did in one of the courses that we did several years back, and we would put up on the board we had in the classroom. We had a number of many people, and they would start yelling out what was their goals, and there would be money ones, and there's business ones, and they're things like that. And then I would stop, and there'd be like 20 of them on there. And then I said, okay, why do you want these on there? And then they
Mm,
would go to security, having a house, having a family, and stuff like that. And I said, well, why do you want those? And so we would drill into like 4 or 5 levels of why. And
well,
it came almost exclusively every time came to, I want a human connection who recognizes that I mattered.
no, I mean, that's what everything is,
That's
right?
what everything
That's
is. That's
it.
right. A human connection,
Writing
somebody
that
else
down.
that I mattered to somebody else. And that
Oh my gosh.
it all just, it was such a powerful exercise cause we had this
Wow.
big whiteboard, right? And this big whiteboard and I had 3 helpers, and we would be writing all this stuff on it, that, and you'd see this image on this wall of all the reasons people do and what they're doing. And we knew what the answers were every time. We knew every time how this would go. And it
Wow.
would go to the center, and it said impact, relevance, human connection. Right. At the centerpiece. And so I just thought of
Amazing.
that while you were talking. I forgot that we had done those exercises with people.
It's so powerful because people do not see that. We are
That's right.
so trained to, get a goal, get the, make the goal, get a new
Mm-hmm.
goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, you would ask, like, how do I don't just stay with legacy. I work back from legacy to the vision of how you
Yeah.
want your day
Okay.
to look. And then also, like, how do you want to feel? And I do this exercise where I don't want to feel like this, which everyone knows that, right? I don't want to feel like stressed, anxious, depressed, all these things. And then on the other side, how do you want to feel? And they're like, oh, like, I can feel like that. They don't even give themselves permission to feel joy and love and peace and ease and flow. It's just amazing how, we're trained a certain way.
Well, I got to say, Kim, you and I are kindred spirits here because I use the same exact technique. Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's much easier for people. So we just take a piece of paper. There's like 3 podcasts on this technique. You take a piece of paper, you draw a line down the middle and you say, what don't I want? And you have, it's so easy for people to list what they don't want. They'll go down a list of 50 things.
Yeah.
Then what we do is we draw a line from the thing they don't want. And I said, what is the opposite of that?
Yeah. It's like, and people's like, you can see the light bulb literally go off and they're like, oh, I can choose this. I can choose
this. Right.
And so I have them, and I don't know if you do the same. I have them get like 10 of the I do want, and then I have them do core desired feelings of like 3 to 5 of them.
Core desired. Okay, hang on a second. So a core desired feeling to that to that item. Okay, so give me a for example. Let's say I don't want to be single and no kids. So that means I want a family with children.
Yeah.
Okay. So so what do you do with that? I mean,
so they would get a core desired feeling would be a feeling. So you would break that down to a feeling, which would be like connection or, whatever that feeling would be.
Sure.
So we get 30 feelings on the I do want to feel, and I have them nail them down to like 3 to 5.
Okay.
And use those as their core desired feelings as guidance for every single decision they make in their life. So mine are calm, connected, and fun, and ease, which I just added, which people are like, calm, connected, and fun. What is that? Well, that's how I want my life to feel like.
Yeah.
All the time. I want to feel calm. I want to feel like I'm connected with the people around me, that I'm listening, that I'm there, and fun. Like if I'm not having fun, what's the point of any of this?
Kim,
ease is a new one.
Let me tell you, I just tell you right off the bat, you're fun.
Well, I don't know about all the time, but I try. That's my core desired feeling. And that comes from the teacher, Danielle Laporte. She does not get enough recognition for her work and core desired feelings. She has a book called Desire Map. And it's just, I mean, it's so simple, but when you write down these core desired feelings and you say, this is the guidance for my entire life, this is the roadmap of everything I want. Every decision you make, you place those core desired feelings next to it and you say, does this resonate? Does this align with that? And then it makes everything so much easier.
That's some great stuff. It really is. I think about how I will accidentally stumble into my core desired feelings through well, I think everybody has to, right? We have to discover what resonates with us, right? What is that thing that we have? There is, which is interesting, is that there's a piece in me that likes what you had listed, but there's one part of it that is not what people would consider an attractive feeling. It's more of like a desire, right? That says, yeah, I want to attain a certain status with something that seems to be buried deep within me and get recognition from, I don't know who, right? The outside world, okay. Right? And that I have to recognize inside me that there's a piece of me in there that wants that, right? That seeks that and desires that. And so how do you balance that with fun, happiness, those kind of things like that, right? How do you
let me not kid you. I love recognition too. Like right. I love, when I had my name in magazines, like I'm not like, that was like a highlight of my entire life. I mean, my kids are highlights, but yeah. Have you ever done the Strength Finders 2.0 book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you get significance? Because I got significance, which made me feel like, wow, you really love the limelight, but that's how we do what we do. That's how we place ourselves on video and podcasts. If we didn't have significance and we wanted to hide behind the scenes, we would never get to where we are. So we can use that. It depends on if it's ego driven or if it's because you're trying to help lead a movement or help others serve other people. So it really depends on which side of the coin you're coming off of. Is it ego driven or a need to serve or a desire to serve?
Totally agree. And so you got me all the way. I mean, we could branch off into what I call archetypical astrology, Zen, Jungian, archetypes. One of my best friends, a guy named Josh Hedaya, another plug for joshhedaya.com. He is an archetypical astrologer who takes your time of birth down to a minute, the location where you were born, the actual city, and the year, the date, year, et cetera. And from there is a pattern of planets that is unique. And from that, there is a psychological imprinting that occurs that says, basically, here's why you're on this planet.
I love that. That's very cool.
It's super cool. And so what Josh does is takes it out of the woo-woo, right? Which is like, stargazing, and you're a Cancer, so you're a moon child and you're going to be crying all the time, right? So, that's me, by the way. And puts it into context that says, hey, the sun, the moon, and Mars and Saturn are rulers. They're like types of people in your life. And if you don't care for that context, meaning that if you don't recognize that I am a sensitive man, that I have a high EQ recognition of how other people are thinking, those type of things, it will take my legs out from under me, and I will become, what other people look at as a guy who simply can't make up his mind and gets very emotional.
Wow.
Okay. And so, or you can take that power that you have and flip it around and become an intuitive with your coaches and guide them and take them through a journey because you're so connected, but it's still the same archetype.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what Josh does is he paints that road for you and shows you like that. So when you think about strength finders, I go right back to, Myers-Briggs or that kind of stuff like that and say, hey, this is it. But I think about your core desires. So those core desires will always fall back to some of the same things. So the paths to those core desires, I think, is really interesting. One of the things I've done for my clients, and I don't know what you do with your clients, is that when people don't know what they want, okay, there's a lot of folks who may have tried a lot of different paths and they simply can't articulate it. Okay.
Maybe that's a male thing, right? Because you said
I think it is.
Deal with men. Okay. Because women almost always know, but they're too afraid to say it out loud.
Is it really?
Yeah, they always know.
Oh,
it's getting them right. And we talked in the prep thing when we first talked. There is difference in the male and the women wiring. There is a difference. I feel like we cannot deny that there's
the why thinking. The why for a man about life is so much different than the why for a woman.
Because they were trained to, you have to be the breadwinner. Right. You have to. Well,
there's dangerous things out there, right? And so
saber-tooth tigers.
Let's get really transparent here. You know what? There is a piece of me that likes wandering in the woods with sticks and spears and making fires and burning stuff. And I was raised that way, right? With a gun in my hand to go hunting with my father. Right. Yeah. And so there's that piece, right? My sister, she was never exposed to that. She never got into that kind of stuff. She never got that piece like that. So that millennia worth of stuff coming through shows up in my life day to day. And I have to balance that, right? I have to figure out how to get through the day without looking at everything as a target.
I love that. It's hilarious.
Seriously,
That's so funny, but it's the blending of the masculine and the feminine, which really makes us powerful.
So true.
If a man, oh, well, thank you. I mean, I feel like we bounce off each other very well.
Yeah.
But to be a man and to understand that you can have feelings and that it's where your power is, and to understand that you're being intuitively guided and and just to embrace that part of you is so much more powerful than I've got to go kill things. And,
it's so true.
That's where your power is.
It is. And there's some crazy things that the education process do. Cause I coach almost exclusively men. There's some women that I do coach. But it's almost like for a short period of time that they say, hey, can you teach me how to do these things? They're often in business related or different things like that, and I'll take them through a 12-week course on how to go do things, and they get exactly what they need and they're on to the next thing. Right. Mm-hmm. But my longer term clients are all men. And it's almost always what you just said. They're in some state of catastrophe or life crash. Get them to patch the holes in the ship somehow and get them sailing in the right direction is almost what it's always about.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a shift, and I've just really been embracing a shift in the last, couple of years, but really in the last couple of months. I'm like, I feel that we are moving into a higher consciousness, and the people who want to move to that space are way more aware of everything going on around them and the energy they're putting out. And so I feel like there will always be those people that are just goal oriented and then are just going to go through their life. And when they die, they realize, oh, like, wow, it didn't have to be that hard. We could have actually enjoyed our life a lot more. I think that's what we're here to shine a light and say, it doesn't have to be this way. We're no longer waking up each day, surviving, and having to go kill our food. We can actually enjoy the technology, enjoy our life for what it is.
You're absolutely, so, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is so true in play right now, because you go back 100 years ago, 80% of the world's population was living below the poverty line. 100 years ago. Okay.
Believe it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Absolutely. That's
survival. That was survival right? mode.
My grandfather came from the Depression era, right? Just that whole state of mind globally. Now, today, globally, I think the last numbers I saw, 11% of the world's population lives below the poverty line. It's a complete inversion of that.
Yeah.
So, we still have a large group of people on the planet, a much larger number. All right. But as a whole, the whole population is generally not worried about safety or food or water. Okay.
Yes.
Right. That's not to take away from those groups that absolutely have those problems today. Right.
And there are absolutely them. And it, I feel, we feel deeply for
we
that.
Still got to keep working towards that. Right. And get those fixed. The rest of the communities of the people who know where their meal's coming from and have a place to have shelter are going through the next level, which is some degrees of self-actualization.
Yes.
Which is what you were talking about.
Yes.
What do you do? So this is my personal theory. I believe the human race is going through a massive worthiness shift. A massive one. The quality of life for so many people on this planet is shifting so fast to the positive. I mean, you got a whole country like China, over 1 billion people who are elevating their basic class status.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I mean, and so when you do that with a group of people who may have been existing at one level and go to another level of personal value, personal worth, those type of things, you have a complete social dynamic that now kicks in of potentially self-sabotage, potentially, I don't know what to do with my time. I'm now having to turn my mirror in on me to look at all the problems I have, as opposed to that. So I think you're absolutely right to shift what you're talking about. What gives you the indication that this is like underway?
I can feel it.
I can feel it too, right?
What made me a powerful makeup artist was not the fact that I could do makeup. It's that I could feel my clients' energy. I could feel their energy. And I didn't realize, I thought that everyone did that was like a natural thing, but I'd be working on a bride, there'd be everything zooming around and I could feel how she was feeling. She was literally radiating energy. So I learned then, like, oh, you've got something different going on here. And I feel like there is so much, we put so much stock in the mind and the brain and what our mind is thinking. And if we learn to shut the mind off, literally make it shut up.
Yep.
And we learn that there's this spaciousness, this intuitive guidance, I feel like most of the suffering in the world would be eliminated.
I agree.
And I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't, there are depression and chemical balances, and I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't even pretend to, but if people would stop self-identifying with the thoughts in their mind, suffering would end. It would end. So
I would agree. There's no shortage of that. The deconstruction of the formal ways that we achieve some spiritual enlightenment have occurred and are continuing to occur. So the classic religions, the ways that we had approached the concepts of God and spirituality have absolutely collapsed underneath us over the last 2 decades. Absolutely collapsed, right? The falling of what was classically thought of as the Catholic Church to a whole bunch of other things. And then the resurrection of all of those, I didn't mean to use that word, that's what happened, but resurrection of all of the Christian and the evangelistic modalities, the shift from Western thinking into a lot of Eastern philosophies that have come into our play. Right? It's like water running into all different areas.
Yeah.
And mixing. It's really pretty cool. But at the same time, it's disruptive. I mean, there's where do you plant your feet, right?
So much disruption, right? And like, yeah, you're right. People don't know where to go. They don't go to church anymore to seek answers. And TV is like a complete waste of time and space and energy. So what do you do? So you have to look within. I mean, isn't that? Yeah. And people are so resistant to that. And I had to hit rock bottom before I heard I saw the light kind of deal, and I understood the truth, and it didn't matter how successful I ever was, that my worth was because I'm a soul here on earth and I'm an energy being, and that never ends. And, it could get really woo-woo really quick, but
I love it. Come on,
it's
please.
the truth, right?
I'll sit in a sweat lodge for 3 hours. Come on, please.
It's the best. It's the best. And when I think, a lot of my clients that come to me are not open.
Yeah.
And they don't come to me saying, I want spiritual guidance. I do not classify myself as a spiritual coach.
Yep.
But the fact that piece is missing, I feel like traditional coaching is just not, it is not as powerful by any means. If you add traditional coaching plus spiritual coaching, it's a whole other realm.
It really is. It really is. Kim, I want to thank you so very much for this time. We could literally go on for another 3 hours. I know we could.
I don't even know what time it is, but yeah.
We've gone for about 40 minutes.
I love it.
I know. What's really, I want to leave you with this last thought. So I have an open patio door here next to me that I look out, you have a beautiful backdrop behind you with, I think it was raining out there or something like that.
It is raining. Right, yes.
Yeah. Anyways, but when you came on, you were talking about your change in your life, your spiritual. There's this hawk out here that was absolutely screeching in the air while you were talking about your very intimate transition. And I go, oh my gosh, I hope you could hear that hawk. I might just overlay it inside the top of this podcast just for that.
Oh, I love it. Wow.
So anyways,
powerful.
Thank you for joining me. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
This has been a Motive for Life Productions, all rights reserved.